But I would expect, Dave Richardson, that we will have an excellent, fast-paced game here tonight.
Well, it's an important hockey game for both teams because when do you beat each other? If you can't beat the team that's lower than you or one step above you, you're in trouble because you're not going to make any hay when you're playing against the Philadelphia Flyers or the Boston Bruins or teams or Montreal Canadiens, for all that matter, that are coming in here Sunday. So it's an important game to both teams.
The starting skaters tonight up front for the Winnipeg Jets: Morris Lukowich, Willie Lindstrom, and Thomas Steen. Don Spring and Dave Babbage defensively. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's Paul Baxter and Randy Boyd on defense. Their forward skaters: Greg Malone, Doug Shedden, and Mike Bullard. And it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. Bullard tried to clear it out in front. He's taken to the corner by Spring, who was knocked to the ice. Steen also into the corner. Finally breaks the puck loose, however. Now long lead pass for Lukowich. He goes to the line along with Baxter. To the far side, Lukowich shot stopped by Dion. Lost sight of the puck for a moment. Lindstrom is in there. Rolls it out in front. Steen was tied up. Comes to Babbage at the point. He shakes Boyd for the moment at least. Steen tries to roll it to Lindstrom in front successfully. Now behind the net for Lukowich. Back for Spring at the point. Off the boards for Lukowich. Lukowich almost came out too far. Now starts back over for Babbage. His shot again kicked out. He had Dion moving into the net. Baxter ties it up against the boards. That'll bring about a face-off to the left of Michel Dion.
Well, a tremendous start for the Winnipeg Jets. And here are the players that are not playing in tonight's hockey game.
You see them listed there: David Christian, Brian Hayward, Benny Lundholm, and Jimmy Mann for the Winnipeg Jets. As for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Ron Meehan and Anders Hackinson.
I'm very surprised that Anders Hankinson not playing. He's the only player on their team that does not have a minus. He's the only plus player they have. Here's the ex-goaltender Eddie Johnston, good friend of Teddy Green's when they were playing in Boston. A little pressure for Eddie right now with a losing streak.
Definitely in his third season coaching in Pittsburgh. Had a year in Chicago before that. Here's Waters' shot blocked high over top of the net. Carlisle goes to the corner, rolls it ahead. It's cleared out to center. Gathered up by Savard. Over for Waters. 2 minutes gone by so far in the opening period. As number 23, Gary Risling, is sent back into his own zone. Fails to clear it out. Kept in there by DuPont. His shot gloved by Dion. Over on the opposite side. Gloved up by Getsos. He's held in the corner by Eves. Finally poked loose. Rolled out in front. Here's Savard from the far side. The angle's too tough. Rolled it in front, however. But Eves couldn't get the shot away. Now, Getsos. Long lead pass. Sotard with a save as number 32. Dave Hannon had been left alone in front with an excellent scoring opportunity for the Penguins. But Sotard likes to be tested early. If that's the case, he has just had that test and passed it admirably. Another hard shot from Saint-Laurent. Rolls past Carlisle. Back to the Pittsburgh line. The Jets will make a change as Carlisle circles at his own blue line to Saint-Laurent. Right side for Risling. He goes to the corner. Rolls in front off the goal post. Number 17, Rick Keogh, as Delois comes down the right side for Winnipeg. Chased to the corner. Rolled it in front. Arneal had his stick lifted and then knocked to the ice by Busquets. Saint-Laurent retreats for the Penguins. To Pat Boutet. 5 former member of the Toronto Maple Leafs on this Pittsburgh squad tonight. Keogh rolling it ahead to Saint-Laurent. He comes down the right side, fired it in well wide, but Boutet goes to the corner. Babbage has him tied up. Smale broke it loose. That was deflected off a broken stick that has been dropped, but I notice all players have managed to pick up a stick. So whoever broke it retrieved one pretty quickly.
Well, you were right at the start of this hockey game. What a tremendous pace.
Here's a loose puck behind the net. Grabbed there by Keogh. He works his way out now. Right wing pass. Looking for number 34, Andre Saint-Laurent, but he had broken his stick once again. Didn't have one. He falls at the line. It's whistled down offside. You're watching Jets hockey. 15:55 left to play in this opening period. No score. Now Lindstrom starts up to center. Works his way past Carlisle. Backhand shot. That's cleared behind the net. Carlisle trying to tie it up. Loses it to Lindstrom. Rolled it out in front. Steen couldn't pick it off. And Pittsburgh start back with Greg Malone. Lead pass up at center. Onto the stick of Bullard. Bullard tied up by Babbage. Puck rolls free. Lukowich picks it up, but off the glass. A penalty coming up. And I believe it'll be going to Don Spring. Live on CKND, this is your Molson Hockey Telecast. Here's Malone in front, and the shot as that had rolled out there from the faceoff. His play had just gotten underway. But quickly, Serge Savard, Tim Waters, and Doug Sotard all on top of the puck. There's a look at the man in the penalty box, Don Spring, off for hooking at the 4:27 mark.
Well, and what Don Spring was doing was what we watched in the practice yesterday afternoon over at the Highlander. They were forcing the forward to go in between both defensemen. That time they elected to do it, but this time Spring used the stick and hooked him just a wee bit.
So the face-off will come to the left of Sotard. Howardchuk in to take the draw. Malone got it to Carl at the point, kicked out by Sotard. Bouncing puck off the glass. Waters to the side of the net. What a close call as that one bounced off the top of the glass. Then the mesh in behind Sotard. He didn't see it. Waters managed to scoop it to the side. Now here's Doug Smale. Racing down the left side. Gardner chases him, or Shedden rather. Smale in front. Lost control of the puck as Dion came up with a stick. Doug Smale, who was always dangerous out there killing off penalties. Savard was upended by Bullard. No penalty call there. Smale up for checking for the Jets. Here's Malone for Pittsburgh. Just fired it back deep in his own zone. Hotham. He works out now with 1 minute 7 seconds left in the Winnipeg penalty. Malone carries to the Winnipeg line. Starts deep to the corner. Back behind the net. Shedden to the far side. To Carlisle at the point. He moves in towards the slot area. Over for Baxter, the Winnipeg native. Back to Carlisle. Winds up. Takes the shot. Far side. Takes the shot off the outside of the net. As Shedden only missed by inches. Bullard now for Pittsburgh putting on some pressure. Carlisle back at the point. Tried to roll it through traffic. Bad pass by Carlisle, and Waters clears it to the line but not out. Kept in by Bullard. Poke check. Nice move from Butler. Brings it back to center. 31 seconds left in the Pittsburgh power play. Boyd couldn't reach the pass. Arneal races into the far side. He's upended. Boyd kicks it behind the net. Butler races in for the Jets and clears it back to his own zone.
Well, a nice job by Jerry Butler, and that's nice to see him in the lineup with Dave Christian out, because he's pretty handy in killing the penalties and just doing an overall good defensive job.
Pittsburgh with time left for one more rush. 7 seconds as they come to center. Baxter carries to the Winnipeg line. Lost possession of it. It's cleared out by McLean. He races against Gardner to the Pittsburgh line. Has Arneal with him. Arneal puts on the brake. Takes the shot, looking for the far side. 13:26 left to play in a fast skating opening period. Howardchuk fails to dodge the check at the line. Kehoe is upended as he retreats into his own zone. Now Pittsburgh having trouble getting out. McLean over the far side looking for Howardchuk. Couldn't stuff it in the short side. Boutet starts back for Pittsburgh. Stopped at the line. Up for checking Howardchuk and McLean. Now Baxter to the far side. Lead pass went behind Gardner at center. It's cleared back to Mullen. He failed to sidestep Boyd. Now Boutet for Pittsburgh. 12:55 left in the opening period. No scores. Bexwell comes to the line for Getsos. Lead pass. Gardner at center. Dropped off for Getsos. It's whistled down. Offside. You're watching NHL hockey from the Winnipeg Arena. There's a look at Thomas Steen in the face-off circle against Hammond. Face-off outside the Jets' blue line. The Pens get the draw. Long shot from Chorney, gloved by Sotard. He'll hold on. That'll bring the face-off a little deeper.
Well, with 12:41 to go in the period, both goaltenders have come under a lot of tough shots already. Sotard early in the first period, then he had one rung off the post. Then Dougie Smale coming down on an excellent rush. He just outskated the Pittsburgh defenseman, and Dion had to come up with a big stop, so the goaltenders are right in the game early, and I think they like that.
Might be a good opportunity for the Jets tonight, although you can't say having to kill off a penalty is a good opportunity, but Pittsburgh has given up 8 shorthanded goals so far this season, and Smale's the fellow that can get them for you.
Well, he's got 3 already this year. The hockey club has got 7 shorthanded goals.
Well, they're back at both at full strength. The Steen fired it in well wide. Lukowicz and Lindstrom up for checking now. Here's Getsos along the boards. Waited for Lindstrom to go by him. Now for Hanna. That hit the referee. It's cleared to center. Campbell waiting for his mates to get back on side. The long shot handled easily by Dion. Chorney for Pittsburgh. Up on the left side. And it's just rolled to center once again. The long lead pass was intended for Hannon. Now he gets it right side. Getsos was tied up. Butskis for Pittsburgh, waiting for Getsos to get back on side. Lukowicz, far side, had Lindstrom crossing towards center. Almost got the pass off the boards. Now comes Steen. Drop pass for Lindstrom. And he was tied up by Hannon. Pittsburgh. Butskis back to the line. Long shot. Sotard fouled it. Had him handcuffed as the shot went high towards the mask area. Lukowicz rolled it ahead for Steen. Hoffman now for Pittsburgh to Salarod center. He gets it over the line, winds up, bouncing puck in front. Carlisle couldn't reach it in time, but an excellent opportunity for Peter Lee, who moved right in front for that rebound. Here comes Campbell now, 2-on-1 Lukowicz, right side. Take the shot, rolls in front. Lukowicz shot saved by Dion off the pad.
What an excellent hockey game as far as speed and scoring chances are concerned. Both teams want this.
Here's Babbage now, almost has Smale, but it's whistled down. You're watching Jets hockey on CKND. The face-off will be outside the Pittsburgh blue line. Arneal moves in against Mike Bullard. Babbage now clears it off the boards. Baxter starts out, moves in front of his own net, right side for Shedden. Lead pass at center, onto the stick of Bullard. Over for Malone. His shot is Sotard. Gloved that in the midsection.
Well, already the shots are 7-6, and if they've been of the more dangerous variety also. We look at former James Norris Trophy winner Randy Carlisle. Missed 8 games with a bit of a knee injury and a Charlie horse. Last season led the hockey club in assists. So he's an important cog, and I just, as I was telling Brian, we would be hard to play without Babbage as they do without Carlisle.
Yes, they are two in the same. Carlisle is the real quarterback out there on the ice, coming out of their own zone, as Dave Babbage does for Winnipeg.
It's quite possible when we look at 44 Dave Babbage, maybe there is a James Norris Trophy for him in the offing in the future, because he's playing with that kind of confidence, and he certainly has that kind of ability. He has shown so much improvement over the past 3 years, developed along with each year, and is willing to accept it as a learning phase. Brian will be talking to him in between periods, and maybe we'll find out a little more about who he credits a lot of his success to. Devlois couldn't control it at center. Baxter just goes back inside his own zone. Now Boyd lugs it out to center. He's tied up by Smale. The stick's got a little high. Smale comes up with a puck, cleared off the boards, rolled to Baxter. He flips it in well wide. Malone gets behind Babbage, goes to the corner, rolled it out in front. Bullard tied up in front of the net by Sprang. Shedden to Bullard in the corner, rolls it out in front. Malone shot, and that, I believe, went off Shedden's skate. Arneal takes him to the corner. Now back behind the net, to the side. Comes out in front, looking for the far side. It's number 22, Mike Bullard. Penalty coming up. Shedden takes it. The Jets with a delayed penalty. Now Dion heads for the players' box of Pittsburgh. They send on the extra man. In behind the net, it's Shedden. Back to Baxter at the point. He takes a shot, deflected wide. As Babbage also upended Malone in front. It's whistled down. With the score, Winnipeg nothing, Pittsburgh nothing. We'll be back in a moment. Well, Don Spring, who only has 27 minutes in penalties in 53 games, is second of the night so far. Well, he's moving right up there with 31. Let's have another look at him, and he does put the bit of a hold right there. Yes, pardon me, he's got it under the armpit, and he kind of looks nonchalant about it all. It's not my fault. Of course, Don Spring very seldom shows any kind of emotion anyway, so you couldn't tell whether he thinks it's right or wrong. Good replay, fellas. Here's Carlisle behind the net. He has Kehoe positioned behind there. Kehoe rolled it in front, deflected wide by Gardner. Now Carlisle back in behind the net. They've got defensemen playing up there as Carlisle tries to tie it up in the corner. Gets it back to the point for Hotham. Hotham over the far side. Kehoe in front. Boutet backhand shot. Glove saved by Sotard. And they have words with each other. Boutet. Now Boutet is tied up along with number 7, Muddy Waters. He gets involved. Young Timmy Waters is not one to stand back and see anybody take advantage of the goaltender. That all started by Dougie Sotard, who gave a little bit of a stick to Pat Boutet. Now let's watch the replay right in front of the net. Watch after Boutet gets this puck. He takes another whack at it, and right there, that's when Sotard says, one for you, one for me, and then they go at it a little bit. I don't think much, but maybe roughing penalties to Boutet, and that will really hurt the Pittsburgh Hockey Club. He's got 12 power play goals, and he's second in the National Hockey League. He and Kehoe have 12 apiece, so that will hurt the hockey club. Talking about that goaltending area, Billy Smith is making a bid to have it made larger in front. Your views on it? Well, as a forward, I would like to see the nets larger also. Higher, wider, whatever. Whatever advantage we can get. Well, he'd like the crease certainly widened out a little bit. I don't know. They may have to make the sticks a little longer. Well, it'll be interesting on this power play to keep our eye on Malone Shedden, who's a youngster that has been able to score a lot of goals. Mike Bullard, who's their #1 draft pick. They've been doing a lot of good things for this hockey club in the power play. Last year they had 99 power play goals. This year they have 50, so they're going to be hard-pressed to equal that mark that they set last year.
As I mentioned before, watch out for Doug Smale, because he has 3 power play goals already this season, and the Pittsburgh Penguins have given up 8 on the year while having the man advantage. Here's a drop pass. Carlisle, good save, Soter, as Carlisle was looking for the top shelf on the right side.
Well, from a forward's point of view, what you've got to do is come down and shoot the puck. You're not going to score goals unless you shoot it. And this time he does it with a neat drop pass to Carlisle. But that looks like vintage Dougie Sotar tonight, and he's making a strong bid to be considered one of the stars. Good wrist shot by Carlisle, using the drop pass as the player that dropped the pass as a part of the screen, so he had to work that hard on the play.
Well, he has often stated he likes to get into the game early. By that, a couple of good hard shots in the opening few minutes. Well, he's been tested 10 times already, and there's 8:47 left to go in this first period.
Well, after the first 4 or 5 minutes, Winnipeg had outshot Pittsburgh something like 6-3, and now they've taken right over in the play. Of course, 2 penalties have helped to that.
Exactly. Bullard to the corner. Back to the point for Carlisle. Moves towards the slot. Now finds Hotham. Back for Carlisle. To Hotham again. Almost lost it. Behind the net. To Shedden. Bullard now rolls in front. Malone parked out in front of the net. That was deflected by Savard as they went looking for Malone. Here's Smale, 1-on-1 against Carlisle. In on the line. He's hit from behind by #6, Greg Hotham, and he'll be going off for 2 minutes. You're watching Jets hockey on CKND. There's a look at the penalty coming up that will equalize the situation.
Well, ever present, ever hustle, Dougie Smale. He's not going to score a goal. He'll force the opposition into taking a penalty. I thought he was the best Winnipeg Jet on the ice on Wednesday night against the Philadelphia Flyers, particularly when he and Deberois were killing penalties. They were just outstanding.
I don't know of a game this year, really, when Doug Smale has played, that he hasn't been a possible star on the ice. He gives 100% every time. Babbage moves in, takes the shot. Dion came out to cut down the angle. Babbage, the backhand. Cleared to the side, tried to roll it in front. Now Baxter for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The pass went in behind Getsos. Baxter's chased in his own zone. Hannon retreats. Now circles back out. Lugs the puck to center. Hannon still with control. Steen trying to take it away from him. Dropped it off. Now here's Lukowicz. Moves up with Steen. In over the line. Drop pass for Steen. Couldn't get to it in time. Baxter beats him there. And he carries to center to Getsos. Getsos got past Savard to Hannon. In front. Checked by Maxwell and tied up. Getsos now for Pittsburgh. Rolls in front. Takes the shot from a very difficult angle. Hannon to the corner. McLean comes on. And the Winnipeg Jets now have the man advantage. Hapses. Hannon to the far side. Bodied off the puck by McLean. Getsos moves up. He keeps it in. 1 minute and 5 seconds left in the Winnipeg power play. They'll send out a new line with Howardchuk, Mullen, DuPont, and Babbage along.
Well, that was an icing call. I don't know why. Oh, yes, the Pittsburgh guy just come off the box. Huh? Well, I'm not too sure as we look at Greg Malone, who during the warm-up broke 3 hockey sticks, and I questioned him about whether spending too much time in the weight room building up his muscles. There's Brian McFarland's guest in between periods. Winnipeg native Paul Baxter. 407 minutes last year.
That's right, the NHL leader in that statistic.
Well, only one guy's ever had more in a season. That was Davy Schultz with 472.
Of course, he went to Pittsburgh from Quebec for the same kind of person in Kim Claxton, so you wonder about that trade. He's a little better puck handler, of course, than Claxton was. Now it's dumped behind the net. 7:02 remaining in this first period. No score. 39 seconds left in the Jet power play. Sotar let it roll behind the net. DuPont off the boards. Babbage will start up. He has McLean. Mullen and Howardchuk up front. Babbage comes to the line. Trying to get past Chorney. Circles into the corner. Looking for somebody back into the slot area. DuPont moves up now. Cleared to Mullen in the corner. Back to Howardchuk in the line. Winds up. Takes this shot. Almost deflected. McLean the rebound. Bounces to the far side as Mullen went looking for his goal tonight. Telerise dumped by McLean, and a penalty will be coming up as McLean is frustrated on that one. Pat Boutet had just stepped out of the penalty box.
Well, Paul McLean is arguing quite strongly on the call. If you look at the play, watch the chop or the hack right there on the arm. If he doesn't get a penalty for whacking him there, he certainly takes the feet out from under the Pittsburgh player. So whatever you want to call slashing or tripping, I thought the official was right on the job, and he made an excellent call on the play. Now, Paul, a number of times this year, while the Jets have had a power play, has been guilty of being a little over-aggressive in the zone. You know, at best, you should let the puck come out, regroup, and come back in it. You've got the man advantage.
13:33, the time of that penalty to Paul McLean. And there is 7 seconds left in the penalty to Greg Hockman. Paul McLean also picked up a 10-minute misconduct.
Well, this time the Penguins will have their strong power play. They will have Paul Gardner at center with Boutet and Kehoe, and that right now would be the 4 guys last year that were very responsible for getting all the power play goals for that hockey club last year. Paul Gardner last year, 21 power play goals. He's only got 6 this year. He's not been the same hockey player the last half of last year and the first half of this year.
So obviously Paul McLean said a little more than Mr. Fournier, I think you're wrong. But they clear it back to the Pittsburgh line. Carlisle retreats into his own zone. Now the penalty is expired to Hotham, and the Pittsburgh Penguins will have the man advantage. Boutet fired it in. That hit the linesman Norris.
And that time you got an excellent assist by the linesman Norris. Well, let me ask you this about Paul Gardner. As we watch him when he plays here right now, he's always had some tremendous offensive statistics. He's a quiet individual. Could what have happened here last year with Jimmy Mann make that much of a difference to him?
I wouldn't be surprised. It makes you a little gun-shy, and I think, especially as a forward carrying the puck, you start looking around. And I don't think your full attention is on handling that puck rather than watching somebody else coming at you. Smale comes down. His shot from a sharp angle. Dion handled that as Boutet starts to swing away. Lead pass at center was too far. Picked off by Waters. Cleared it right back in again. Carlisle circles inside his own zone, working defensively with Hotham. Carlisle starts up now. On the left side, finds Kehoe. That pass was intercepted by Smale. He clears it right back down with 1:13 left in the power play for Pittsburgh.
Well, Dion's having a strong first period. He's not letting the fact that he hasn't won a hockey game in the last 7 affect him, because he's been sharp on all occasions.
Here's Carlisle back to Hotham. Works his way in. Backhand shot. Scores! Number 20, Paul Gardner, who was marked in front. I believe the rebound came out onto his stick. He put it between the legs of Doug Sotart into the 5-hole. It's 1-0 Pittsburgh.
Well, let's take a look at it. Look right in front of the net. You will see Gardner as he's going down. He injures himself going down. He hurts his knee. Let's watch Paul Gardner now. We have him isolated right here, going right to the front of the net. Watch his leg. He falls on his own leg as he puts the puck in. You know, an interesting thing about that power play unit that was on the ice, all 5 of them were former Toronto Maple Leaf hockey players.
So the Pittsburgh Penguins go into front 1-0 with 5:26 remaining in the first period. And although the Pittsburgh Penguins have been struggling as of late, one statistic that the Winnipeg Jets have not enjoyed, and that is when they have been scored on first at home, their record has been 2 wins and 7 losses. They have been scored on first tonight. They'll have to battle back as Lukowicz came in on the line, but that's whistled down.
Well, let's get into the trivia now. Name the 2 Pittsburgh players who played and scored over 50 goals and over 100 points, both during the same season, 1975-76. There were 2 players. If you want to give them a little clue?
2 clues. Played on the All-Star team that year and the year before, and they're both French-Canadian.
That's good enough clues.
Is that enough?
Yep.
Other than initials. Shedden tied up in front of his own bench. Lukowicz didn't get back on side in time, and will have the face-off at the Pittsburgh line.
Well, in spite of what happened to the Winnipeg Jets as far as injuries are concerned, the 4 units that Tom Watt has been playing tonight have all been effective, and it's hard to realize that the Pittsburgh team have the record that they've had in the last 30 games or so, to speak, because they've played with a lot of enthusiasm and they're moving the puck around. They look like a better hockey club than their record indicates.
Well, quite possibly. Eddie Johnson told them, look, this one is very important tonight. The Jets have been struggling, and if you're going to get back into the win column, this is your possible chance to do it. Babic is hooked in the corner. He goes to the ice and falls in the puck. The face-off will come back the Pittsburgh blue line.
Now we will look at probably one nasty Swede right here, Thomas Steen.
And probably, as you say, nasty, one of the strongest players on the Winnipeg Jet Club in the upper body.
Well, you've heard of the strong silent type, and he certainly fits that mold because you can hardly say 2 words in English.
Here's Baxter in behind the net. As the Penguins start out, number 14, Doug Shedden, circles inside his own zone. Now turns it off on the far side, cleared at center. Steen intercepted there. The attempted pass from Boyd. Now Baxter comes to center. Long left wing pass. Too far for Malone. Babbage chases it down in the corner. Malone in behind the net. Tried to roll it in front. The pass hit the mesh in the back. Now Malone couldn't get to it in time. Babbage comes up with it to Steen at the line. Babbage picked up his own pass. Comes to the Pittsburgh line. Drops it off for Lukowicz. Drop pass. Maxwell at the point. Rolled it in front. Lindstrom had it go between his skates. Now Pittsburgh Penguins come back to center. Boyd with the 3-on-1. Drops it off at center. That's intercepted by Howardchuk, and he rolls it back to the neutral zone. 4 minutes, 5 seconds left to play in this opening period. Pittsburgh leading it 1-0 as Bullard comes back in over the line with Gessos. His shot is deflected wide as he was hit by Babbage just on the release. Howardchuk to Babbage. Around the boards, DuPont. It comes out over the line. Chorney for the Pens. Mullen up for checking. Chorney retreats back behind his own net. Now number 7, Rod Buskus ahead for Getsos. Pass intended for Hanna, bounced behind him. Howardchuk at the line. Finds Mullen on the right side into a race with Chorney. He gets there first, however, and clears it into the crowd in a souvenir of tonight's contest.
Nice job by Mark Chorney. We'll keep you updated on the injury to Paul Gardner. He has a history of having a bit of a trick knee, Brian, where it pops out of place, and they're trying to get it back into place now and get it back in the edge. Dougie Schmale will know this, and they both played together at North Dakota. He was a low draft pick, but determination, hard work kept him in the National Hockey League.
Yes, he's got, matter of fact, a strange set of circumstances. 2 goals in his previous 2 years. They both came with his first shot of the season.
That's not all. Those were the only 2 goals he got those years.
That's right. 1 goal with 1 shot in 1 year and 1 goal the next year with his first shot of the season. Then hasn't scored since. Here's Getsos into the corner. Waters. Butkus in behind. Cleared it off the board. Risling. Flipped it off the glass. That'll have enough steam to get to the line, but Mullen gets there first. Savard failed to keep it in close. Risling checked up against the boards, came up with a puck, rode it in front. Getsos bouncing puck in front, and the off speed of that shot almost had Sotard fooled. He has lost his stick. Here's the long shot. Cleared in front, rolled loose, and it finally comes to center as Sotard didn't have his stick when he stopped that shot from Carlisle. Getsos now in over the line. 2:40 left in the first period. The Jets trailing 1-0. Waters out in front, trying to find Smale too far. Arneal circles at the line. To Deblois. Cleared it off the glass into the Pittsburgh zone. They make a change defensively, sending out Babbage and Spring now. At center, Spring off the boards. Deblois comes to center to Arneal. In over the blue line, working with Smale. Arneal put on the brakes, trying to get away from Carlisle. Rolled it to the corner. Huffman in there. Now Kehoe for Pittsburgh. A long rink-wide pass for Boutet was too far. Babbage at his own line. Sidestep Kehoe. Off the boards for Smale, bodied by Huffman into the boards. Carlisle rings it around the far side, finds Boutet. He comes to center. Back for Sonora, right side looking for Kehoe. Stopped by Spring at the line. Spring with the pass behind Deblois. Boutet picks that up, circles back inside his own zone as they wind the clock down with 1:44 now left in the opening period. Baxter is knocked by Deblois at the line. Here's Sonora, fired it in well wide. Savard goes behind the net. Bouncing puck cleared in front. It comes to Buskus at the blue line. His shot kicked away by Sotard. Savard and Boutet go to the corner. Sonora back from the point. The long shot stopped easily by Sotard. And the Jets start back out again to Steen at center. Failed to get by Buskus. Lost control of the puck. Savard moves up. Ahead for Lukowicz. Rolls that to the corner. Again, the Jets make a change on the fly, sending out Maxwell and Lindstrom. Now Lukowicz is hauled down as he attempted to get to that pass, but Referee Ron Fournier only gave him a 3.4 on his cards. As Steen circles back at the line, left side too far for Lukowicz. That's batted down. Lindstrom at center, circles away from Shedden. Then he's knocked off the puck. Shedden comes up with it for Pittsburgh, winds up, takes the shot. That's deflected high into the crowd. This telecast is protected by copyright and is intended solely for the non-commercial entertainment of our viewing audience. Any use, reproduction, or distribution in whole or in part of the pictures or descriptions herein contained without the express written consent of Canadian Sports Network and CKND Television is strictly prohibited.
God, he's getting better and better doing it. You got to be up here to see him doing it. You should see what he puts into it.
Oh, I've been watching Dandy Dawn. Here's Butzkus off the boards, cleared to center. Rod Butzkus couldn't pick that off. The clock winding down now to 32 seconds remaining in this opening period. The Pens winning it 1-0 on that goal by Gardner at the 14:34 mark. Maxwell at his own line, cleared it too far. Here's Babbage. Into Maxwell, back inside his own blue line, rags the puck to center. Now a lead pass tipped in by Howardchuk. Back after that was Bullard in behind his own net. It comes to Babbage at the point. 7 seconds left. Rolled it in. Scores! With 6 seconds left to play in the first period, Howardchuk ties it up at 1 apiece.
Well, let's have a look at this, and I hope we can watch the job that number 28, Norm Dupont, does. We don't go back far enough, but I will try to get that for you later. Norm Dupont takes a Penguin right off the puck, allows it to come back to Dave Babbage so that he's able to get the shot. See? Babbage would not have the puck had Dupont not forced the turnover from the Pittsburgh player. And it in there, there's Howardchuk sensing that, goes right in front of the net and just tips it in. 1-1. Super way to come out of this hockey period.
For Howardchuk is 25th of the season. That ties it up at 1 apiece. And that is the kind of goal you like to have and the one that you hate to have scored against you.
All right, let's have another look at the goal that... Watch the puck is shot in and tipped into the corner. Keep an eye on 28 right to the right of your screen. Right there, he takes the Pittsburgh guy right off the puck, comes loose. Just an excellent job to Norm Dupont, Dale Howardchuk, and Babbage. A little hustle pays off.
Well, it certainly did pay off. Let's check in downstairs and see what Brian McFarland has for our first period intermission. And just the numbers there.
Well, of the 17 shots that Pittsburgh took, 8 were by their defensemen. 5 of the 6 defensemen contributed shots. Winnipeg's defensemen had 3 shots, all of them by number 44, Dave Babbage. So that's how their defense get involved in the play. But in all fairness, they had a couple more power play opportunities in which they were able to get more shots from the blue line. Carlisle, Baxter, Hotham, that's the type of game they play. But also, they are the most scored upon team in the National Hockey League, too. So they get guilty because they get caught into the zone somewhat.
Well, there's a gentleman who has been waiting to get some ice time, Jerry Butler, who has not seen too much as of late. Best maybe said that the most amount of traveling he's done lately is over to the Highlander for practice that they've had the last couple of days. But I know he's been very anxious to get back on the ice, and he's an excellent worker out there.
Well, another reason he's anxious to get back, he's got 99 goals, and he would love to get that number 100. I've been impressed with Dion tonight. I thought he played very well, challenged his shots very well.
Michel Dion in kind of close, and how would you like to catch that for a hat trick? That might weigh you down just trying to get it off the ice.
I wonder if he would be able to go through the metal detector at the airports with one of those on.
Well, in just a moment, Ron Fournier will get things underway.
Well, Brian, excuse me, I would just want to update on that goal. Norm Dupont will be given an assist on that goal. So if you're sitting at home and you're keeping stats, add number 28 to the goal scored by Dale Howardchuk on the assist from Babbage and Dupont.
And fittingly so, you alluded to the amount of work that Norman Dupont did to make that goal possible. And we're underway with the second period of action. A long lead pass intended for Malone, intercepted by Babbage inside the line, goes back to the point. Bullard tried to keep it in. Lindstrom picks that off, and he starts back to center. Working up ice with Lukowicz. The long shot was off the net. Dion gloved it just in case, however. Malone starts behind his net now. Off the boards, too far, intended for Shedden. That goes the length of the ice. Spring back to touch it, and the Penguins will be called for icing. Don Spring, who we mentioned earlier, does not show that much facial expression on the ice, but handles a lot of the workload.
Well, you know, he's not blessed with an over amount of exceptional talents. The one talent that he does have and he uses to the fullest, and that's the head. He plays with his head. He plays within himself, his capabilities. I think that's a credit to a hockey player when you have to use everything you got going. And there are a lot of hockey players down there that have a great amount of talent that don't use the brain.
Saint-Laurent moves into the face-off circle. It rolls to the corner. Picked off by Hotham around behind the net. Boutet just takes a slap at it. He's tied up by Babbage. Carlisle now. Back again for Hotham. Hotham lead pass to Saint-Laurent at center. That's intercepted. Don Spring had to wait for Smale to get back on side. Carlisle goes to the boards. Pats it ahead for Boutet. Boutet, right side. Kehoe, take the shot. Took it finally off the leg of Sotart. Babbage to the corner. Kehoe up forechecking along with Boutet. Arneal goes to the opposite side. He starts up ice as we're into the second minute of play in the second period. A 1-1 tie. Carlisle rolled it back to center. Savard into a race against Kehoe, got there first. Batted at the line. Develois tried to pick it off out of the air. Up comes Hotham. He rolls it in wide to the far corner. The Pittsburgh Penguins make a wholesale change of that line as the Jets start back up on the far side. Arneal crosses to center, working with Develois. The long shot in on Dion. And the Jets likewise make a change. Pittsburgh starting out of their own zone. Tapped ahead by Baxter. That's broken up at center. Howardchuk circles in there. Flipped it in over the blue line. Boyd mishandled it. Now Howardchuk breaks it in but catches Mullen offside. Live on CKND, this is your Molson Hockey Telecast. Face-off will come outside the Pittsburgh blue line. Of course, we're pretty well off if anything should happen up here in the press box. We've got both Jimmy Mann and Mad Dog Vachon sitting next to us.
Maybe he's trying to get Jimmy to join him in a tag team partnership.
Here's Sotart clearing it off the glass. DuPont starts ahead for Howardchuk too far. Boyd at the line. Turned it over to Waters. Comes into the Pittsburgh zone. Tried to drop it off to DuPont. Waters goes to the corner. Battling along with Baxter for the puck. Now it comes loose to the far side. Savard rolled it to the line. It's out. Mullen will have to wait for Howardchuk to get back on side. Clears it in off the boards. Baxter likewise to center. Now Boyd at his own line. On the right side finds Getsos. He sends a long weak shot in on Sotart. 18-14 the shots on goal so far in this contest. Pittsburgh leading in that area. The score is tied at 1-1. 17-28 still to play in the second period. Baxter to the corner. Cleared it off the boards. Maxwell stopped that at the line. Rolled it into DuPont. DuPont turned it over to Howardchuk. With a head fake. Goes back to the line. A weak shot in on Dion. Boyd for Pittsburgh. Starts out of his zone as the Jets were making a change. Lindstrom at center is up in it. Maxwell back to Babbage. He moves up now. Rags the puck to the Pittsburgh line. David Babbage goes to the corner. Got away from Getsos. They'll battle in the corner for possession. Lindstrom in to help out. He's taken out of the play momentarily by Baxter. Steen faked the pass back to the blue line. Lindstrom, nice move to get away from Bullard. Rolls it in front and Dion cleared it with a stick. Malone to the line, not out. Here's Baxter now for Pittsburgh. He'll send it the length of the ice, and the Penguins will be called for icing as Maxwell moves back.
Well, we get an opportunity to look at number 20, Willie the Wisp, and maybe we can see a replay and why they call him Willie the Wisp. Here we are, right in the corner. Watch Willie do a little spinorama. Bang, bang. Dion held his ground. He still got him. He's always a pleasure to go and watch Willie Lindstrom when he's moving in and out of the corner, darting about. He handles the puck well while he's skating. Probably the best player on the team.
Lukowicz's shot is wide. On a move like that, of course, you have to check the sweater number, make sure it was 20 and not 18. We've become so accustomed to that. Again, the Penguins will be called for icing. That'll bring the faceoff back to the right of Michel Dion.
Well, if you're sitting at home, you noticed how the pace of the hockey game has slowed down a little bit. It would appear to me that Pittsburgh are content with just picking up their checks and not really forcing the play like they did so much more in the first period.
Doug Shedd, the native of Wallaceburg, Ontario, was Pittsburgh's fifth-round draft choice in 1980.
You know, another interesting thing, we looked at Shedd, and he was a fifth-rounder. They've got a sixth-rounder, they've got an eighth-rounder, and they've got a 10th-rounder. They've only got one first-rounder.
And that shows a little bit and probably explains also a little bit why they are struggling so much at this point of the season. Here's Campbell firing it in off the corner boards. Dion met that behind the net. Chorney goes to the corner for the Penguins. Failed to get it out. Campbell at the point. His shot is blocked by Bullard. He now moves in defensively. Lukowicz and Lindstrom doing a good job up forechecking. Goes back to the line. Here's Steen over for Lindstrom. He circles away from Malone. Lindstrom still with possession. Try to get it back into Steen. It comes to the line. Maloney gets away from Savard. He moves down ice. Was up in and by Savard, and that's whistled down.
Now I get an opportunity and see how many people had their thinking caps on when they got the quiz. Here are the two individuals that scored 50 and 53. Pierre LaRouche and Jean Pronovost. Pretty impressive statistics. Back in 75-76, 100 points was considered 100 points until Mr. 99 came along and threw that all out of heck.
Now 99 has 100 points in a day's work. He is so far ahead, currently 132 points in the season. That is a gap of about 50 in front of Mark Messier.
That's why they have computers, just to keep track of him.
Here's Greg Hoffman in behind his net. Graham off the boards. Babbage intercepted at center. Tipped it ahead for Smale. He comes down to the Pittsburgh line. His pass went off the skate of Arneal. That starts the Pens back down ice. Peter Lee into the line. Tried to pass it through Don Spring. Smale came up with it. Pass into the skates of Arneal. Moves back to the Pittsburgh line, working along with Deblois, taken into the boards by Hutton. Carlisle retreats into the corner, taken into the play by Smale. And the Pittsburgh Penguins content to dump it back into the Winnipeg zone, and they have been doing that for about the last 5 minutes. They have been satisfied with just getting it out of their zone rather than working it down ice. Boyd back at the line now. Up for Peter Lee, rink wide. Graham fanned in the shot. Babbage in behind the net, working defensively with Don Spring. Failed to bring it out, however, with Graham up forechecking, rolled it in front. Here's Arneal. Starts down the right side, working with Deblois. Arneal at the line. That rolls to the corner as the Jets make a wholesale change of that line. Saint-Laurent for Pittsburgh. Circled away from Mullen. Pass on the right wing. Lee couldn't trap it. Comes to Dupont. Got it ahead. Howard-Chuck. Mullen had the weight. Howard-Chuck winds up. He scored! He blasted that right by Michel Dion. And Dale Howard-Chuck's second goal of the night put the Jets in front 2-1.
Well, for Howard-Chuck, for a while, it didn't look like he was going to smile, but he had to be pleased with himself because he's doing something right here. He's shooting the puck, and you've got to score goals by shooting it. Dion just does not react in time because Howard-Chuck puts something on this.
Well, an expression that you like to use, he overpowered him.
I think in that case, he simply caught him a little flat-footed. Dion did not come out far enough to challenge him.
Here's Chorney now at center. Fired that in well wide. 14-19 still to play in the second period. The Jets leading by 1 on the 2-1 count. Mullen starts up. Lead the pass to McLean. Fanned on the pass as he was looking for Dale Howard-Chuck. Hannon off the board. Mullen up forechecking. He keeps it in. Dion just leaves it behind the net for Chorney. Off the boards. Risling's pass is deflected by McLean. Howard-Chuck at center. Fed it through Risling and then wound his way around them to McLean at center. One would almost think that there are 3 Swedes out there at the moment as Mullen drops it off to Howard-Chuck. Moving in and goal. Took the shot. Bouncing puck in front of Dion. Had trouble with that one.
What a tremendous stop by Michel Dion right here. First of all, if we go far enough back in the replay, watch young Dale Howard-Chuck doing. If you were here last year many times, you saw this happen time and time again. Paul McLean right in the front using the other defenseman as a bit of a decoy, and that time the quick left hand of Dion. Watch his hand come right out in rapier-like fashion and just doesn't really catch it all, but stops it, knocks it down, and is able to get a face-off. But that's vintage Dale Howard-Chuck. I wonder if that means anything that his agent is in the crowd tonight.
Could be. And talking to Michel Dion at practice this morning, he said one of the problems they've really been having is that the opposing forwards have been allowed 2 or 3 shots. He said, I stopped the first one, but my defense isn't grabbing up the rebound. Here's Rick Keogh into the line, and that is deflected high into the crowd. With a score, Winnipeg 2 and Pittsburgh 1. We'll continue after this. The face-off will be inside the Winnipeg blue line. They'll pit St. Laurent, Pittsburgh against Thomas Steen of the Jets.
And that goal was caused because Pittsburgh forwards have stopped doing a lot of the forechecking. They're content picking up the wings and coming right back.
Babbage fed it out to center. Carlisle intercepted there, and it's sent back in by Saint-Laurent. Number 34 for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Brewer and Miranda. Now here's Lindstrom down and over the line. Stops to get away from Carlisle. Rolled it through to Steen to the side of the goal. Across the crease. Boutet moves in. Lindstrom has it. Lukowicz with a shot. Cleared in front of penalty. Coming up as number 6. Putnam is on top of a Winnipeg player. You're watching NHL hockey from the Winnipeg Arena. Well, the Jets will have a man advantage for the next 2 minutes.
Well, you saw Willie Lindstrom coming into the play after making the pass initially. Played a little bit of defense, went right back into the play, and that time Boutet had to hook him.
Here's Carlisle clearing it off the boards. That goes the length of the ice.
Well, let's have a look at Winnipeg's power play, which is running at 23.7%, which is 7th overall in the National Hockey League. And Tom Watt keeps saying, they keep criticizing my power play.
Well, they have 52 power play goals. David Babbage has been on the ice for 47 of them. So that shows his worth in that section. Here's Carlisle to the corner now, trying to get it past DuPont. Is successful. Malone races into the Winnipeg zone. Babbage gets back there first. 1:24 left in the man advantage for the Jets. It's cleared to Howard-Chuck in his own zone. Dropped it off to DuPont. He comes to the Pittsburgh line. Dropped it back for Mullen. Mullen into the corner. DuPont into the corner. He's waiting for Mullen to get back into DuPont's spot. It's rolled in front. Howard-Chuck tries again, has his stick lifted. And the Pittsburgh Penguins cleared out the line. Here's Mullen. Winds up. Takes the shot. Malone fired it off the boards. A blistering drive by Brian Mullen. Rung it off the goalpost.
Well, Michel Dion was got to wonder what happened to his defense and his players, because there was no one in front of Mullen.
Here's Lukowicz to the corner, spins away from one check. Mullen also working in there. Behind the net, tried to get it back to Lukowicz. It's cleared off the glass. Babbage stops it at the blue line, but it hops into backup goaltender Eddie Stanowski.
Well, there's Mullen, a little frustrated because he made an excellent play in coming into the zone and just putting everything behind this shot. Now watch what's happened here on the replay. What happened to the Pittsburgh defense, or for all that matter, any Pittsburgh player? Here's Mullen, makes a nice play in handling the puck. Oh, they're just going to give Dion a chance to see the puck. They spread open, let him come out. Dion makes a nice move, comes out and challenges it, but that 3-inch post did the job.
And there is many a time a goaltender prefers that. Don't stand right in front of me and act as a screen. Let me get a good look at the shot.
You're right.
As long as you tie up the people who are standing beside the net. Here's Babbage now to center. 25 seconds left in the power play for the Winnipeg Jets. Maxwell retreats into his own zone. They have Thomas Steen, Morris Lukowicz, Willie Lindstrom up front. Babbage and Maxwell on defense as Lindstrom comes to the line. Poke checked by Hanna, and he clears a long shot in on Sotar. 21-20, the shots on goal now in favor of the Winnipeg Jets. 3 seconds left in the power play advantage. That'll expire, and it does right now as Boutet steps back onto the ice, and the Penguins are back at full strength. Steen into the corner, trying to break it free. Intercepted there by number 22, Mike Bullard. Starts out of his own zone, tried to take his own pass off the glass, gets it ahead to Boutet. He comes to the line along with Shetton. Knocked by Campbell. Steen moves up. 2-on-2. Steen working with Smale. Here's Steen going towards the net, taken off the puck on a good play by Chorney to tie up Thomas Steen. The pass went behind Boutet, left it there for Shetton. He comes down the left side now. In over the line, drop pass. Bullard gets past Campbell, takes the shot, and that hit the far side of the goal post. Boutet. Buskus keeps it in now, in behind the net. Bullard rolled it out in front. Comes to Chorney at the point. His shot well wide. Smale goes to the far side. He rolls it to center. We're at the midway mark of the second period. The Jets leading it 2-1. Boutet now fires it in wide of the target. Sotar off the boards for Smale. Tried to backhand it out. That's kept in by Rod Buskus, doing a good job of forechecking for the Penguins. Now here's Risling, moves in over the line. Risling, rink-wide pass. Looking for Getsos. He's tied up by Campbell. Arneal now goes to the boards. They'll hold on. We'll have a face-off. You're watching the Jets on CKND. Well, Pittsburgh had outshot Winnipeg 17-12 in the first period. The Jets now leading that category 9-4 in the second period to put them at 21 apiece.
But Pittsburgh are starting to forecheck and take a little more of the play away from Winnipeg now. They're skating and playing in that zone a little more.
Here's Smale. The Pittsburgh line almost put the pass on the Debelois stick. Intercepted by Hannon to Risling. At center, too far for Hannon. Babbage in his own zone. Hannon intercepts. Puts it off. Getsos into the glove of Doug Sotar. And Risling looking for a rebound.
Well, I really don't know
know if the shot was that hard or too difficult for Dougie Sotart to handle that time, but he certainly made it look like it was. Right here, picture perfect, good shot from the behind the net camera. Get everything on it. Thank you, Mr. Sotart.
9:23 to play in the second period. The Jets leading 2-1. Winnipeg with a pair of goals from Dale Hawerchuk. One in 1954 of the first period, and then at 5:35 in this period, his 26th of the season.
Well, something Winnipeg have not been good at doing, Brian, is be strong in the faceoffs. Let's get a good opportunity to watch Scott Arniel against the veteran Andre St. Laurent.
St. Laurent got the draw, and that's fired in wide. That was one of their biggest problems against Philadelphia in that contest the other night, was that faceoff circle. Graham cleared it in behind the net. Potter pinches in from his defensive position. Lee couldn't keep it at the line. Now here comes Deblois. 2-on-1, working with Arniel. Deblois over for Arniel. Takes the shot, and Dion ties it up between the pads.
Oh, an excellent job that time by Lucien Deblois to fight off the Pittsburgh defenseman at the blue line and then to handle the puck. But you watch it, it's going to take a little bit of a roll as it gets there. Right there, Scott Arniel really can't get his stick and get everything on it. Now let me go back into the face-off circle, Brian. What Tom Watt says, it's nothing that is so hard about getting the face-off is once you lose it, it becomes so difficult to get that puck back, especially when you're playing against strong teams like Montreal or Philadelphia, etc. They just will not give it back to you.
Whether it belongs to you or not.
That's right. Let's keep an eye on the face-off again.
Well, this time Arniel got to the puck, but he tipped it ahead to Carlisle, and it's abruptly sent the length of the ice. Waters gets back on there, puts the tag on it first, and Pittsburgh will be called for icing. That'll bring the face-off back down to the right of Michel Dion with 8:51 to play.
Okay, let's watch this time right here. Keeping in mind that that's the veteran St. Laurent. There's a scoring opportunity that is created from the faceoff. Now here's the other end. This time it's against a rookie, and he gets it right back to Carlisle. The puck is he's trying to break a forward loose. Do you see that? Again, he's creating another opportunity by just getting two faceoffs.
Well, they send Arniel back into that faceoff circle against Bullard. Here's Deblois in front. He's tied up. Puck is in between the two of them. Arniel pokes it free. Comes to the side of the net. One hands it out in front to Tim Waters. Takes the shot loose in on Dion. Puck is still loose in front. Now it's cleared off, and Pittsburgh come back up to the 3-on-1. Carlisle to Shetton on the far side. Waters retreats back in his own zone. Shetton still with it over the far side, looking for Carlisle. And Waters, spread eagle down the ice, almost put it in behind his own goaltender.
Well, a second effort by number 7, Timmy Waters. We're going to get a great opportunity to watch this play. Good heads-up play here by 14, Shetton. He's looking for Carlisle to the right. See Carlisle right there? The puck does not get to Carlisle because Waters just hangs his stick right on it, and he allows right there. Thank you, and he puts it into goaltender Doug Sotart. That was a great scoring opportunity. The score is only 2-1. Pittsburgh are not out of this hockey game, even though they have not had the scoring opportunities, but bang, bang, an open opportunity like that, and everything could move well.
Well, especially in that first period, they did not play like a record, like the record would indicate, but I think that goal late in the first period by Hawerchuk really took a bit of air out of their balloon.
I agree with you.
Here's Babbage to the corner. Boutet ties it up. We'll have a face-off.
On the 10th will be an excellent hockey game, but for you fans that do not have tickets for the game here Sunday afternoon against the Montreal Canadiens, there are none left, but standing room tickets will go on sale tomorrow morning at the box office here at the arena at 9:30, and that will be the only appearance of the Montreal Canadiens.
I dare say there will be a lineup for what tickets are available. 8:04 in this contest, left to play in the second period. The Jets leading 2-1 as Baxter circles inside his own zone. Ahead for St. Laurent. Tipped it ahead. Kehoe fails to go anywhere. Hawerchuk rolled it back in over the line. Boyd now for Pittsburgh. Rolls to center. Fired a long shot in off the corner boards. Maxwell inside his own zone. Zalaran keeps it in for Pittsburgh. Maxwell now, again defensively for the Jets. Up front looking for Mullen. He was stopped. That rolls the length of the ice. Dion out to meet it as Hawerchuk was the only one back. Here comes Pat Boutet. Passage center for St. Laurent. Back to Boutet. Tipped away from him by McLean. At center, tied up. Hawerchuk at the line is upended by Boyd. Baxter goes to the corner. that's the only helmet that Paul Baxter has ever had, but in having watched him over the years, it always looks like it's too small because he always has that tuft of hair sticking out of his forehead, and it's never changed over the years.
I think it makes you look tough. Talking about toughness, this guy, number 15 here, Patty Boutet, got an amazing statistic. He's played professional hockey for 7 years, has missed only 3 hockey games. The last 6 years in succession, he has not missed a hockey game. And he's not a big guy. 5'9", I think 180 pounds, about my size. I might be a couple pounds heavier, though.
As a matter of fact, probably one of the closest friends of a gentleman who used to do color on this contest, Pitt Martin.
Just consistency keeps you in the National Hockey League, and he's one of the guys that can prove it.
Here's Risling, stopped at the line by Savard. Lindstrom up forechecking against Carlisle. Now it goes back to Carlisle in the corner. Good persistent forechecking by the Jets as Hanna finally breaks it loose. Comes to him at center. Working against Lukowicz. Hanna gets in over the line. Takes the shot. He scores! And Serge Savard has Risling tied up in front of the net. I think that provided a pretty good screen. It went through the legs of Sotar.
Well, Gary Risling does not have a lot of statistics, and he likely will not get an assist in this play, but watch right in front of the net right there. He has Savard tied up as much as Savard has him tied up. Take a look right here, right in front of that. See 23 right there? He's actually causing a distraction in front of goaltender Sotar, and the puck just aimlessly goes in between the legs. We got a good hockey game at 2-2.
They each have a goal apiece in the first and so far in the second period. 6:34 left in this middle frame. Lindstrom had it rolled to center at the line. Huffman stopped it there. Now Lindstrom comes up to center at the Pittsburgh line. Over for Thomas Steen. Thomas Steen ran into Huffman. Lukowicz was held up by Hannon. Now Lindstrom takes Carlisle into the corner. Huffman to the far side. As Carlisle now up into Lindstrom. Puck rolls free to center. Savard to Lukowicz. Back behind Steen. Has to come back to his own blue line. Savard moves up. Right side for Lindstrom. Lindstrom and Carlisle run into each other again. Savard goes to the corner. Rolls that out in front. Lukowicz had his stick tied up by number 32, Dave Hammond. Pittsburgh's number 26, Steve Gatsos, goes to the far side. Couldn't get the shot away. Cleared off the boards by Spring. Chorney at the line stops that. Fires it through traffic. I think that hit Sotar more than anything else. Lukowicz now to the far side as something has sparked the Pittsburgh Penguins in the last 3 or 4 minutes.
Well, that goal certainly helped.
Here's Chorney. Malone couldn't stop the pass. Picked off by Bullard. He's run into the players' bench. Takes a swing at Smale with his stick. Now Babbage moves in. He goes to the corner along with Chorney. One-hands it out in front. Malone intercepts for Pittsburgh, who have outshot the Jets 25-23 at this point in time. Spring, rink wide to Babbage at his own blue line. 5:07 left to play in the second period. Arneal at the blue line, rolled it ahead for Smale. Debelois intercept. Debelois takes the shot, hits Smale with it. The rebound to the side of the net. Smale is tied up there by number 7, Rob Huskus. Now he goes in behind the net. Debelois with help. Coming up to Chorney, shot off the side of the net. And Smale had been upended by Chorney. He'll get the gate. Smale rolled right in front, and he had Michel Dion going the other way. The puck is still free. Now it's cleared around the boards, and Kemper's flare in front of the Pittsburgh goal.
Well, I like the job that referee Ron Fournier did on that. Now everybody must get out of the zone and go right into a neutral zone right now, as 2 individuals are going to go and have a little bit of melee. This should have happened on Wednesday night against Philadelphia. Everybody should have gone into a neutral zone.
Rod Buskus, the Pittsburgh player, that's right. As you say, had this happened against the Flyers the other night, we wouldn't have had the brawl that took place.
Well, nothing's going to come of this. They're just kind of wrestling around on all there, but it just takes away a glorious scoring opportunity from Winnipeg that time. Dougie Smale had a great scoring opportunity in the crease, and Michel Dion just did an excellent job keeping the puck out, and Fournier was right on top of the net to make sure that a Pittsburgh defenseman does not smother the puck in the crease, which would have given Winnipeg a penalty shot. And if we get a chance to see the replay on that, watch the front, watch Fournier first of all come into the right in there, and you'll see the puck lying there, and you'll watch a Pittsburgh guy put his hand on the puck. Right there, you see him? But Fournier is right there watching the puck. See his hand right into the right on the job to make sure that nothing illegal will take place right in that crease, and just an excellent job by the official.
It's Winnipeg 2, Pittsburgh 2. We'll be back in a moment. Here's a look at number 16, Mark Chorney, sitting in the penalty box off for holding for 2 minutes. Time of that penalty, 15-19. Meanwhile, there are also major penalties handed out. Develois of Winnipeg for fighting, and Buskus of Pittsburgh for fighting. Here's how it takes place. There's the initial penalty as Chorney had upended Smale. And then as Smale came around and tried to stuff it in the short side, that's when sticks got high. You can see number 7 there. Buskus as he pushed Smale from behind. Then Develois moved in, and they went at it.
Well, you can't say that neither one of these teams are in this hockey game. They've skated very, very well through the first period and along into the second period. Now, here's give you the penalties as they are read to us.
Well, the Winnipeg penalty, Develois, 5 minutes for fighting. He has also received a 10-minute misconduct, and I would think that is when he was on top of the player, the referee, once you've pulled you apart, you cannot go back at it again. Well, he went back at Buskus once again, and that's what happened.
That's right. It's all over at that point, and Winnipeg are not in a position that they can afford to lose a Paul McLean for 10 minutes or a Lucien Develois for 10 minutes.
Here's Dupont, moves in over the line. Dupont tried to get it back to the point, now circles in there, took the shot out on the side of the net. Dupont goes to the corner, has Howard Chuck with him. Mullen back at the point, comes to the point for Mullen, faked the shot, in for Dupont, went past his stick. Howard Chuck tried to roll it in front off the skate blade of Boyd, and it's cleared the length of the ice.
Well, let's keep an eye on number 10, this time Dale Hawerchuk. He's already got 2 goals this evening, and he's probably looking for that big hat trick. I don't know if Hawerchuk has a hat trick this year at all.
No, I do not know if he has a hat trick at all. I was just going to try and go through the stats, but there's a look at him. He has 26 so far in the season after 2 goals so far tonight.
Well, they seem to be having something right there. 2 all-stars in their own right, Hawerchuk and Babbage. Now it's important that Winnipeg win the face-off, get control of the puck immediately so that they can take it and get it down into the zone and start creating some passing plays.
Well, I just checked with the statistician. He says, no, Dale Hawerchuk does not have a hat trick.
Well, I'm sure he would love to get one tonight.
Hawerchuk lost it at the line. St. Laurent tried to get it past McLean unsuccessfully. It's finally cleared off the glass. 1 minute 23 seconds left in the Jet power play as Babbage comes to center. Tried to fire it in. He hit St. Laurent as he attempted to dump it into the Pittsburgh zone. Now here's Hawerchuk, gets it to McLean. He goes to the corner. Hoffman chasing him. Dupont moves in behind the net. McLean was upended to the side of the net. He's looking at referee Ron Fournier for a penalty call. Now McLean moves in front, takes the stick from Dion. There's a lot of battling going on in front of that net. Here's a hard shot from McLean. That's got Hawerchuk the shot. Dupont scores and puts the Jet in front 3-2.
Well, it can't happen to a nicer individual, Brian, as far as I'm concerned. The number 28, Norman Dupont. Good, strong effort by all the Winnipeg Jets right here. They just simply overpower the Pittsburgh team because they have that one-man advantage and they move the puck. They just keep skating around in circles and they create a lot of activity. The rebound will come out. Look at Paul McLean doing what he does best right there. It takes Hotham plus the goaltender away. And believe you me, Norm Dupont made no mistake because he cradled that puck and then drove it right into there as hard as he could drive it.
But one of the examples of why that puck came free, too, is the work of Paul McLean in front of it.
You're right. I think when you're on a power play, it's successful when all 5 people are in motion and creating activity.
Well, not only number 7, Rod Buskus, but Michel Dion was having a little stick work with McLean at the same time, gave him a few taps in the back and said, look, this is my area. So the Jets lead it 3-2 with 3:24 left to play in the second period. Savard in behind the net. Starts up first, drags the puck to center to the Pittsburgh line, dropped it off for Willie Lindstrom. He took the shot, that hit a skate blade. Baxter goes to the corner. Around the far side for Getsos. He's level on the boards by Lindstrom. Long shot. Dion didn't see it. Lukowicz to the corner now. Dropped it back behind him for Steen. Steen is upended by Hannon. The puck rolls out over the line. Savard to Steen. He just backhanded it right in. Baxter inside his own zone now. Lead pass for Hannon. Off the boards. That bounced over one stick. Waters clears it back to the line. Lindstrom, or Lukowicz rather, has it there. Circles to the far side. Lukowicz trying to get past Carlisle. Lost control of the puck. That is cleared by Risling to Getsos. The long shot. And on Sotart. 26-25. The shot's on goal now in favor of the Jets. Lead pass for Steen at center was too hard. Boyd cleared it for Chorney. Bullard overskated it. Lindstrom also overskated the puck. Here's Hanna now from Pittsburgh. Deschette finds up. Took the shot off the skate blade of Waters. Rolls out in front. Lukowicz. Ahead to Arneal. There's a broken stick on the ice. That has been retrieved now as it comes back to Chorney at the Pittsburgh line. Couldn't handle it. Boyd at his own blue line. To Bullard. Head fake. Tipped it off to Malone. Taken into the boards by Babbage. He clears it to the line, not out. Here's Chorney. Rolled it to the corner. Smale moves in along with Waters behind the net. In goes Butler. He starts out now. Lead pass. Finds Doug Smale at center. Stopped there by Boyd. To Malone. In the neutral zone. To the Winnipeg line. The pass too far onto the stick of Babbage. He dumped it out to the center. Boyd waiting for his mates to get back on side. Shedden moves in behind the net, looking for somebody in front. Still has it now. Butler intercepted that. Carlisle kept it in at the line. Babbage, long lead pass too far for Smale. Hoffman, deep in his own zone off the boards. To Shedden, circles in the corner. Arneal up forechecking. Hannon around the boards, finds Boutet. He's knocked up against the boards by Butler. Bullard comes up with a puck. Drop pass for Shedden. Takes the shot. Scores! Shedden once again into the 5-hole between the legs of Doug Sotart. Pittsburgh come back once again to tie it up with 3-3.
Well, goaltender Doug Sotart would like to have this opportunity back. Look at the nice low hard shot right there. He just does not get his legs closed in time because of the way he's standing. He's kind of flat-footed and you can't react. Watch a nice play. Nice drop pass right here. And he puts everything on it, shoots off the proper foot, low enough that it'll go in hard. If he did stop it, he would have created an opportunity for a rebound. But like Winnipeg giving up, getting their goal with 6 seconds to go, this has got to be a big morale booster for the Pittsburgh Hockey Club.
To give you those scoring stats, DuPont's goal at 16:27, Howardchuk and Babbage picked up the assist. That was on the power play. Pittsburgh's goal, Shedden his 17th at 18:51 from Bullard and Boutet. We stand at 3-3 with 46 seconds left to play in the second period. Don Spring off the boards, has to retreat there. Finally is dumped in over the line. Boyd circles back inside his own zone as the clock winds down for Boutet at the blue line. Stopped by McLean. Saint-Laurent comes up with a puck, working with Kehoe on the right side. Saint-Laurent the long shot. Kehoe goes to the far side. Backhanded it in for Saint-Laurent. He's rubbed along the boards. Mullen finally gets it out to center. Carlisle waiting for them to get back on side. Take the shot. In for Boutet, and it's whistled down. With 16 seconds left to play in the second period, we're into a 3-3 tie.
Well, you know, when we had this game penciled in, that would be one of the ones that we were doing for CKND with the Jets on CKND. Quite frankly, I didn't think it would be as entertaining as it has turned out to be in the first two periods right now. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that both teams are shooting the puck and skating well, and they're young, and they really want to get involved in this hockey game.
Well, there's a look at a gentleman who got involved the other night, Brian Maxwell, who was in the middle of that melee at center. You can see the cut on the lip.
You can see the cut on the lip, and that was what everything got started about, that he felt that there should have been a major penalty called.
Here's Maxwell. Throws the puck. Baxter tried to pick it off out of the air. Down to 9 seconds now. Baxter off the boards. Boutet couldn't trap it. It comes to Babbage at center. Circles away from one check. 2 seconds left to play. And Boutet just holds it at the line. We're at a tie game here.
Well, as I mentioned, both goaltenders have played very well, though the couple of the goals that Sotart has let in have not been of the vintage variety. In the third period, the goaltending will make the difference in this hockey game.
And so the score at the end of the second period, the Winnipeg Jets 3, the Pittsburgh Penguins 3. And 2 by Curry. The Oilers leading the Canadiens 4-1. Here it's a 3-3 tie as play is underway in the third period. A high shot flipped up into the crowd.
Well, let's keep a close look on the goaltenders. Doug Sotart and Michel Dion. They've been fairly active in the first two periods with 28 shots, 27 shots. If things go true to form, they'll end up with someone in over on 45, and that's a lot of shots in the National Hockey League. And those are shots that are just on the net, not the ones directed at them where they have to react to.
Here's Spring to the side of the net. Lost it there. Scores as Spring. Hand on the pass over for Dave Babbage. It came right out onto the stick of Bullard. He rang it in off the goalpost.
Watch the importance of the face-offs. Again, that puck is coming back onto the hand of Donnie Spring. He mishandles the puck, and it just hits the post and goes in off his own leg.
and bang, it's 4-3 for the Pens.
So that quickly, the Jets trail again. They trailed 1-0 early at the 14:34 mark of the first period, then took over in this game. Now the Pens come back again. Malone's hard shot, and Sotart came out to cut down the angle. The Jets will have to put on some pressure as they trail 4-3 here early in the third period. Fired in by Bullard around the boards. Back is Don Spring. Ahead to Morris Lukowicz. Moving up with Steen and Lundholm. Pass to Steen at the blue line. Went behind Lindstrom. Pittsburgh come back with number 8. Randy Boyd on the far side to Saint Laurent. Saint Laurent goes to the side of the net. Tried to roll it in front. Was tied up by Waters. Lukowicz moves back up ice. His pass stopped by Boyd at center. Intended for Lindstrom. Boyd circles at the blue line. Turned it in off the boards as the Jets make a change. Waters ahead for Mullen too far. Baxter flipped it back in. Saint Laurent was caught offside.
Well, when I was down and talking to Brian McFarland, I ran into Eddie Johnson and asked him about Paul Gardner, and it would appear that Gardner will not be back tonight. In fact, it would appear that he will be out for another week. So for Paul Gardner coming into the Winnipeg Arena, he does not have any fond memories.
Spring. Pittsburgh lead it 4-3. 18:55 still to play in the third period. Savard rolls it ahead. Keogh intercepted at center. Hotham's pass was deflected off the boards. He retreats into his own zone to Carlisle. Starting out now with Kehoe on the right-hand side. Couldn't trap the pass. They ran into each other. Kehoe retreats into his own zone. Drops it off for Carlisle. Circles there. Gets away from McLean. Now to Hotham on the left side. He carries to the Winnipeg zone. Goes to the corner. Chased by Savard behind the net. Knocked the puck free. Savard circles away from Saint Laurent. To Howardchuk, to McLean. Couldn't trap the pass. Waters moves up to center. Checked from behind by Saint Laurent. Carlisle at the neutral zone. Taken away by McLean. Moves in over the Pittsburgh line. McLean circles there. Still has the puck. Centered in front. Deflected by Mullen. And Dion stopped it on the short side. Kept in by McLean. Mullen, his shot again as he wheeled around and fired. Boutet clears it out of danger. 2 minutes gone by here in the Waters. Kehoe tried to tie it up. Steen too far for Lukowicz. Baxter at his front of his own bench. Lindstrom stopped it at center. Steen moves up for Lukowicz on the right side, looking behind him for the pass, and that's whistled down. You're watching NHL hockey from Winnipeg. At the Pittsburgh line. That was Andre Saint Laurent into the face-off circle against Steen. 11,068 in attendance tonight as the play is whistled down once again.
Well, it's a nice crowd for a Friday night, considering it's the lowest team in the National Hockey. Young David Babbage.
12:55 left to play in the game. A 4-4 tie. It's been seesaw both ways. Steen at center. Flipped it into the far corner, deep into the Pittsburgh zone. Baxter behind the net. Able to break it loose. Kehoe retreats in there, as does Boyd to Saint Laurent. Break wide, intercepted Lindstrom. And that hurt Baxter as he stopped the shot with the ankle.
Well, you notice how Winnipeg are forechecking 2 and 3 individuals now. They're just keeping and hounding the puck, much like Pittsburgh did in the first 5 minutes of that play.
Mark, this is the third period. Howardchuk will step into the face-off circle against Dave Hannon of the Penguins. They battle for possession. The puck is still loose. Howardchuk come up with a shot and goal on the goal post. Paul McLean was in behind Michel Dion, but couldn't find the mark. Maxwell just rolled it back in for David Babbage. An excellent opportunity to put the Jets out in front. McLean was in behind Dion. Sometimes you just try and get that puck in the net a little too quick. Here's Risling inside his own zone.
And all that happened again, Brian, excuse me, because Howardchuk was very good on the faceoff. He won that faceoff.
Babbage back inside his own zone. Right side to McLean. Lead pass too far for Howardchuk. Yatsas ahead to Hannon. In over the Jet line. Forced to the corner by Maxwell. Behind the net. Rolled it out in front. Cleared by McLean. Risling couldn't pick it up. Mullen ahead to Howardchuk. Howardchuk gets past Carlisle. Has Hutton going after him. Along the boards. Tried to roll it in front for Maxwell. Babbage at center. Tipped it ahead. Mullen waiting for Howardchuk to get back on side. Just backhands it in. That line will head for a change. 11:22 still to play in the game. It's a 4-4 tie. Campbell, who tied it up at 4 apiece with his first NHL goal, fired it in well wide of the net. Arneal to the corner. Long shot in on Dion. Carlisle off the boards for Malone. Stopped by Savard. And it's whistled down. You're watching Jets hockey on CKND.
the opportunity right away from Paul McLean, and Dion was a little bit asleep.
The slow motion replay gives you an idea of just how difficult it was as Butler is hauled down at the line. A penalty will be coming up to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Jets will go back on the power play. With the score, Winnipeg 4, Pittsburgh 4. We'll be back in a moment.
Hockey is because Deblois is still serving his 10-minute misconduct penalty. He has about a minute left in that.
Here's Babbage. Starts out of his own zone, carries to center at the Pittsburgh line. Taken from behind by Boutet, who comes up with a puck. Circles behind his own net. Starts out now, gets it to the boards. McLean stopped it there. It comes loose. McLean goes to the corner with Howard-Chuck and Mullen. Roll right in front. Carlisle tried to slip it to the corner. Finally successful. Ties it up against the boards along with Mullen. Now it comes loose. McLean behind the net to Howard-Chuck. In the far corner, out in front, DuPont tried to trip it free. Pittsburgh, however, come up with a puck. Boutet moves down the right side to the Winnipeg line. Working with center around. Boutet allowed some skating room. Now to Mullen. Well, too far. Boyd at center. Cleared it back in. 1 minute, 7 seconds left on the Jet power play.
Oh, Winnipeg needs some new hockey players out there. The 5 they have are tired.
The Winnipeg Jets already have one power play goal. That by DuPont in the second period. Pittsburgh successful in clearing it out once again. Babbage now at center. Break wide to Thomas Steen. Works his way over the line. Drop pass for Lindstrom. Lindstrom goes to the corner. Moves out in front to Steen behind the net. Fan line. Takes the shot. He scores! Willie Lindstrom with a second effort puts the Jets in front 5-4 on the power play.
Well, thank you very much, Tom Ward, for changing the forwards and getting some new blood out there because the freshness of the hockey players. Nice pass right here to Thomas Steen. He'll give it right back to Willie, and it's kind of finding it hard to see where that right underneath the arm of goaltender Dion. I couldn't figure out where it went in. Now let's watch the pass go from Willie to Thomas, back to Willie. Now watch how it goes under the arm of Dion. Right there, probably the only place that the puck would have gone in.
I think the only reason that came out, Steen went to take the shot on Dion, fanned on the shot. It rolled underneath the blade of his stick, right up to Lindstrom. Boom, it's in.
Well, that's the beauty when you're able to see the replays like we're up here. We got a second advantage to see how it got in.
For Lindstrom, his 19th of the year. Steen and Babbage, the assist, the time of that goal at 10:29. For Babbage, his third assist of the night. Getting himself well prepared for that all-star outing in Long Island on Tuesday night.
Making the job somewhat easier for me to pick the 3 stars also.
Definitely, as Malone starts up now. Left side to Bullard. Gets into the Jet zone. Winds up. Took the shot high over top of the net. Shedden tried to roll it in front. Steen came up with a puck. Too far for Lukowicz. Carlisle off the glass. Bullard circles back inside his own zone. Now carries the puck to center. Gets away from Lukowicz. In over the Jet line. Bullard goes to the right side of the net. In behind. Tried to roll it in front. That's picked off by Steen. He starts Lukowicz away to center. Tried to feed it through Carlisle to no avail. Steen carried it in. Now comes to Bullard. 8:38 as the Jets make a change. Bullard moves in to Getzus. Getzus through. Tipped by Malone. Bouncing puck to the side of the net. Up with it is Serge Savard. Ahead to Thomas Steen. He fires it in, and they'll change that line. 8:23 left to play in the game. The Jets leading it 5-4. 35-31 as O'Neill comes in at 35-31. Shots on goal in the Jets' favor. Smale back to Maxwell at his line. Now ahead off the skate blade of Deblois, who's finished serving that misconduct penalty. Deblois inside his own zone. Over for David Babbage. Off the boards. Arneal at center. He fires it in off the glass. Deblois races in against Rod Buskus. Deblois, poke check from behind. Here comes Hanna. Hanna in over the blue line. Circles away from there. Ahead number 23. Gary Risling moving with them. Here's Risling behind the net now. Trying to find somebody in front. Deflected off of Babbage, and Smale comes up with the puck. Moves up ice along with Arneal. Winds up. Took the shot off the leg of Buskus. Arneal with a rebound to the short side. Dion handled that one. Buskus now for Pittsburgh. Off the left wing boards from Risling. That's blocked. Arneal moves in over the blue line. Arneal going in and goal. He's upended. Carried in behind the net. They'll smother it there. We'll have a face-off in the Pittsburgh zone.
Who got a loose puck that time. He was going out for line change, and lo and behold, the puck fell on his stick.
Here's Kehoe. Over for Boutet. Winds up, took the shot, and Sochart came out and cut down the angle. Howard inside his own zone. To Mullen at center. Working with McLean, tried to feed it through. Broken up. Number 17, Rick Kehoe. Long rink wide pass, stopped at center by Howard. Back to Campbell. Campbell winds up, takes the long shot in. This is one of the most spirited performances I've seen of Dale Howardchuk in a while. Kehoe at the blue line. Gets by one check, looking for Boutet, was too far. Steen moves at center, backhands a weak shot in on Dion. Baxter behind the net, dumped to the corner. Boutet for Pittsburgh. Circles inside his own zone. 6:27 left to play in the game. The Jets leading at 5-4 as Boutet comes to center. He's upended. Cleared rink wide, too far for Kehoe. Spring dumped it ahead to Lukowich. Baxter at center now, sends it in wide, and that's whistled down. You're watching Jets hockey on CKND. We'll certainly be looking forward to that telecast in Montreal next week, and if you want a preview of that action, a reminder they're here on Sunday afternoon. Standing room tickets only go on sale at 9:30 at the box office tomorrow morning. Here's Carlisle winding his way out now on the left side, rink wide to Shedden. Shedden winds up, took the shot off the leg of Spring. Bullard sent it across the goal mouth. Cannon trying to keep it in for the Penguins is successful. In behind the net, Davidge and Bullard tie each other up. The puck comes loose into the corner. Steen goes in after it now. He starts up ahead, flipped it into the Penguin zone. That'll go the distance as Carlisle retreats, and the Winnipeg Jets will be called for racing. They'll send Howard or Arneal into the face-off circle against Shedden. Got the draw back to Bullard. Hanna, his shot. Hopkins wide. Carlisle trying to keep it in. Smale now to the puck. Winds his way to center. Rolled it ahead. Carlisle stopped that one. Sidestep to check. Hopkins moves up. Shot well wide, deep into the Jet zone. Savard retreats in there, taken into the corner boards. Bullard ties it up. Now rolls to the head. Savard battling in there with Malone. Cleared off the glass. Bullard keeps it into the corner. Malone circles away from Waters. Bullard is upended. Puck comes loose. Waters clears it off the board. Hockman has to hurry back to his own blue line. Rink wide for Bullard at the neutral zone. He flips it in, and the Pittsburgh Penguins make a wholesale change of that line. Davidge starts out of his own zone now. Carries the puck to his own blue line. Check from behind by Hanna and upended. Hanna rolled it up the center. Brought in by Resling. Carried in front. Getsos in there trying to get a shot away. Was tied up by Davidge. McLean goes to the corner along with Resling. We'll have a face-off to the left of Doug Soper. Good number of the fans biting their nails tonight with 4:31 left to play. The Jets leading at 5-4. The face-off in the Winnipeg zone. Howardchuk in there against number 32 for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Dave Hanna. The draw comes back to Boyd. His shot, a bouncing one, in on Sochart. Savard clearing it from McLean. Pittsburgh come up with the puck, however. Boyd again from the blue line. Fired wide. Butkus for Pittsburgh, keeping it in at the point. Getz is up checking for Pittsburgh. Boyd moves in from his defensive position. Is tied up along the board as Don Spring had two of them in there. Now Howardchuk, lead pass from Mullen. Comes to center. McLean behind him. Poke checked at the line by Butkus. Pittsburgh's Boyd carries back to the Winnipeg zone. Fails to get past Maxwell. They're upended. They go to the corner. Now Getsos breaks it free. Tied up by Howardchuk. Maxwell tries to get it through. Saint-Laurent goes to the boards along with Serge Savard. The master tied up in the corner with the puck. Getsos in behind him. The fans looking for a penalty call, but all they'll get is a face-off. What to learn is how to lose. Lose a game, put it behind you. Don't let it affect your next game.
I agree with you 100%.
Steen into the face-off circle, comes to Boutet. He fired wide. Baxter moves in from the point. Keeps it in behind the net. Took a hit from Butler. Now Saint-Laurent tried to backhand it out. Boutet goes to the corner. Gets it to Baxter at the point, but it's out over the line. They'll have to wait to get back on side. Rolled in. Saint-Laurent. Davies beat him to the puck. Cleared out. Here's Steen now. Squeezes his way into center. Flipped a weak shot in. Deep into the Pittsburgh zone. Baxter in behind his own net. With Butler up for checking. 3 minutes, 10 seconds left to play. The Jets lead by 1. Kehoe and Maxwell race to the line, and it's flipped into the crowd. There you can see the mark on the bottom lip of Brian Maxwell as a result of that practice.
That thing, I think it was overplayed really in the media and by a lot of us ourselves. I really don't think the incident really warranted that much of a coverage.
Well, in the way it was done, I think that's what sort of upset everybody. You would be able to comment as to 100% of what happened, but to sit up here and look at it, it looked like a repetition of what happened a year ago between these two teams. Here's Carlisle now to Bullard, fan to the pass, weak in on Sotart. Shedden looking for a rebound. He'll hold on again. We'll have a face-off in the Jet zone. The time now 2 minutes, 50 seconds in their last 14. So they have really been struggling. And as you say, Eddie Johnson must be wondering when things are going to change. Rolled to center, 5-4 the Jets lead. 2 minutes, 40 seconds to play as Carlisle back into his own zone. Handed it off to Putnam. Long lead pass intercepted by Savard. Waited for Smale to get back on the side. Brings it around the boards. Smale gets in there for the Jets in front. Develois hand on the shot. Carlisle leaves it there for Bullard. He comes back to the Winnipeg line. Over for Shedden. Takes the shot off the stick of Doug Sotart. He has been tested on a on 2 or 3 very close calls in his third period.
And they're by Bullard and by Shedden, the youngsters that they picked up in the draft. Bullard is the only #1 pick, as we mentioned, that they have in the country.
Which happens to be Sudbury, Ontario. I just thought
Which
I would
happens to
mention
be
it.
where you're from.
Here's Babbage, had it stolen by Hannah at the line, and he shot looking for the top left-hand corner. Giveaway by Babbage, and Hannah just about came back to tie it up.
Talking about something that the rookies will do. A veteran hockey player might have made this a 5-5 hockey game. Instead, Dave Hannah doesn't take all the opportunity he has to score the goal, and he kind of rushes it. There's Babbage saying to Soder, "Hey, guy, thanks for saving me on that one."
Koff will be to his right. Howardchuk into the face-off circle against Boutet. Then you get the draw. Kehoe's shot is blocked. That bounces against the boards. Develois couldn't find it. It was about 6 feet in the air. Howardchuk pokes it loose. Has Develois to the right side. Fake the shot to Develois! And he shot it underneath Dion and missed the net. An excellent opportunity for Losi and Develois to give them a 2-goal spread. At the moment, it's 5-4. Jets whistle down. Offside. What an excellent opportunity on that feed pass by Howardchuk. Takes it off the board. Has Develois to the right side. Fake the shot. There it is. And Develois guides it underneath Dion. Killing penalties, power plays. He has seen an awful lot of work with Dave Christian's sideline and that shoulder problem. And it could be a few more games before we see the team captain back. Carlisle retreats. The Jets call for icing, and that'll bring up a very important face-off here for the Winnipeg Jets. Howardchuk won the draw. Got it back to Waters. Stops behind the net. Clears it off the boards. Doug Smale. Belted by Baxter into the boards. They look at each other. Here comes Howardchuk over the line, and again tried to feed Develois in front. It was too far this time. 1 minute 8 seconds left now. Carlisle, left side for Bullard. Gets away from Howardchuk. Clears it deep into the zone, and Michel Dion is headed to the Pittsburgh bench. The Pens net is empty. Baxter trying to keep it in. Kehoe fires it off the glass. The Pittsburgh goal mouth is gaping wide open. The Winnipeg Jets lead at 5-4. Here's Waters along the board. 48 seconds left in the game. He'll tie it up in there. And Pittsburgh will get their desired wish with a face-off to the right of Doug Sotart. A very important draw indeed. On defense, Howardchuk goes into the face-off circle. They also have Steen, Babbage, Develois, and Savard out there. The Pens get the draw. Baxter tried to roll it in front. Babbage rolls it off the board. Speed ahead, but he's stopped as the puck rolls from the Pittsburgh line. Carlisle racing against Develois. Carlisle comes up with a puck. Develois on his back. It comes to Steen. Couldn't handle it. Develois now. Backhand shot. That's wide. 28 seconds left to go. The Jets leading by 1. Number 14. Doug Shedden clears it around the boards. It comes to Baxter at center. Pittsburgh with the extra attacker. Shedden moves to the corner now. Bodied by Howardchuk. Bullard goes behind the net. Pokes it free. Kehoe in front, and Carlisle was alone, but couldn't stop the pass. Baxter winds and shoots high off the glass. Kehoe tried to roll it in front. Here's Howardchuk. Howardchuk rolls at the length of the ice and scores into the empty net. He has the hat trick, and it's a 6-4 lead for the Jets. Dale Howardchuk with his first hat trick of the season. And here's what happened down in the Pittsburgh zone. Both he and Develois were pressing It came loose to him inside the blue line. He could have either shot himself or given it to Develois, one of the two, but he had that wide open net in his third goal of the night. As meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Penguins at the other end of the ice have now gone 8-4. In a moment, the Molson Cup 3-star selection.